Oregon County issues face mask order that exempts non-white people. Why? Well, because they're concerned that non-white people may face a stigma or bias if they're seen wearing a mask. This is the future you can expect to see as we move forward with this kind of thinking. The left is now adamant that we must have the ability to discriminate based on race, something we long since did away with because we should all be treated equally and we should be together. You see, back in the day, everybody was separate but equal, they argued, and we decided to get rid of that. There were actually riots over it, and it was the progressive left that was rioting for it. I guess. I mean, maybe it was the Republicans because the Republicans are the ones that oppose slavery, but whatever. Bernie Sanders claims to be a progressive. And so we can see now who is trying to do away with these protections. It's certainly the left. It's not just about what's going on in Oregon, but it's about what's happening with Prop 209, something I've brought up quite a bit. And I want to bring this up because I think what we're seeing in Oregon is a good example of what you can expect moving forward as it gets worse. For those that aren't familiar, California voted to repeal their civil rights legislation from 1996. It's a complicated story, and I will break it down for you. But first, let's read the news. The New York Post says, Lincoln County, Oregon, has exempted non-white people from a new order requiring that face coverings be worn in public to prevent racial profiling. Health officials announced last week residents must wear face coverings in public settings where they may come within 6 feet of another individual who is not from the same household. But people of color do not have to follow the new rule if they have heightened concerns about racial profiling and harassment over wearing the masks, officials said. No person shall intimidate or harass people who do not comply, health officials said. With mask requirements becoming more common, activists have raised concerns that the directives could put non-white people in danger. For many black people, deciding whether or not to wear a bandana in public to protect themselves and others from contracting coronavirus is a lose-lose situation that can result in life-threatening consequences either way, Renika Moore, director of the ACLU's Racial Justice Program, told CNN. Trevor Logan, who is black and said orders to wear face coverings are basically telling people to look dangerous, given racial stereotypes that are out there. This is the larger context of black men fitting the description of a suspect who has a hood on, who has a face covering on, Logan, an economics professor at Ohio State University, told the outlet. It looks like almost every criminal sketch of any garden variety black suspect. Okay. I'm sorry, man. We're talking about public safety and health. We're talking about people getting sick and dying. And now, for some reason, progressive white people want to enact a policy that will result in more black and brown people getting sick and dying. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, man. You've got overt anti-Semitism coming from the woke left. You've got the repealing of civil rights legislation. And now they're telling black and brown people not to wear masks. Okay. I can only assume that these people are useful idiots for literal white supremacists, because you got to think about what the results of all of this is going to be. When the Black Lives Matter protesters went out, everyone said, you're going to get people sick. And they had been telling us that COVID was more likely to affect black and brown people. Why then would they go out in massive numbers while the overwhelmingly white conservatives were told to stay home? What is happening? I really do think, when they made the move to repeal the California civil rights law, it really did feel like the actual organizers or whatever's going on are white supremacists. They like to use that against other people, saying, you're the white supremacist, not us. But think about the rules they're enacting. Steve King, who was the Republican congressman who was accused of being a white nationalist, lost his primary. The Republicans didn't want it. When I talk to conservatives, they don't bring up my race. In fact, they say we don't want it to be a factor. I like that. But it's the left that is creating policies that negatively impact black and brown people over and over again. So let me just tell you, man, the Democrats are historically the party of racism. Perhaps at some point they figured out that the real solution is, it's a honeypot. No, we're the good guys. Come to us. Let us enact these sweet, sweet policies that will help you. Let me help you, they say. And then they enact a bunch of policies that just hurt over and over and over again, but it works. The amazing thing to me about the Democratic Party, for instance, they're not religious. They sometimes pretend to be, but they're not. And it's interesting that they argue you, in order to get the black vote, you got to go through the church. But the Republicans are notoriously the religious right. How does that happen? How did they trick people into voting against their own interests? I honestly don't know. They argue the same thing about poor whites who keep voting for rich people and industrialists. You can argue that about Donald Trump, I guess. So it's fine. Throw it both ways. But right now, they're telling non-white people they don't got to wear masks. Dude, you're going to get sick. Wear a mask. I do think it's stupid when I see conservatives refuse to wear masks. Like, dude, wear a mask. Look, man, just wear a mask, okay? It's not the end of the world. I'm seeing all these weird things about people saying, like, it increases the CO2 blood concentration. And I guess, for sure, when I was walking around with a mask, it does get stuffy. So I get it. I think there's a middle ground. When I'm walking around outside by myself, I have my mask pulled down. If I'm entering close quarters, I pull my mask up. We see a lot of people on the left wearing masks outdoors. Nothing makes sense. Everything's political. That's it. The data suggests wear a mask inside, not outside. I'm sure it helps when you're in close quarters. You can be by yourself and not wear a mask, but conservatives got criticized for walking by themselves and not wearing masks. Whatever. This is insane. I bring you now to repeal Prop 209. And the difficulties in trying to explain to people that the left is introducing overtly racist policies or trying to bring them back. And 209 is the perfect example. Take a look at the first story from EdSource. California universities prepare for affirmative action. OC Register talks about not repealing it, general. Ballotopedia, affirmative action initiative, that's what it's called. UC Regents back repealing, 209, restoring affirmative action. It's all about restoring affirmative action. Every single story from CNN, whatever, you read it and they say restoring affirmative action. You see the title? Repeal Prop 209, affirmative action amendment. When I try talking to my friends about this, they say, but don't you like affirmative action, Tim? I say, I'm not talking about affirmative action. I'm talking about repealing civil rights provisions that will be a detriment to black and brown people. And they say, but affirmative action helps. And I'm like, what are you talking about? The bill has no text related to affirmative action. Stop making that up. You are literally making it up. And they go, but it says affirmative action in the title. Did you read the bill? No, they didn't. The bill says the measure would repeal Section 31 of Article 1 of the California Constitution. The following struck-through text would be repealed. All it does. Does it say the measure would introduce this text, affirmative action shall be allowed? No. It says repealed. The state shall not discriminate against or grant preferential treatment to any individual or group on the basis of race, sex, color, ethnicity, or national origin in the operation of public employment, education, or contracting. That's it. They're getting rid of it. And this is how they get away with it. Every single article says, but it's for affirmative action. This is the bill, if passed, would bring back affirmative action. It's just stupid people pushing stupid lies. I posted about it on Instagram. And of course, here come the progressives saying what Tim's not really telling you is the truth, that it's to restore affirmative action. Dude, if you passed a bill that said it's the promoting self-defense bill, and it said the following criminal act will no longer be criminal, ending someone's life for any reason, I'd be like, the bill really does is allows you to protect yourself in your home. People would be like, well, self-defense is good. But the bill doesn't do that. Okay, I can argue a million things. How about we do this? Let's rename this bill the California Repeal Proposition 209 Restoring White-Only Spaces Act, because you could frame it however you want. That's what the bill allows. So I asked my friend. They say, but it's going to bring back affirmative action. Yeah, it could. It could also bring back racist areas saying whites only, right? Yes. And they say, but what about the 1964 Civil Rights Act? Why? Indeed. Prop 209. What do they say? Modeled on the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the California Civil Rights Initiative was authored by two California academics, blah, blah, blah. That's what the bill was for. It was modeled after the 1964 Civil Rights Act. So if California gets rid of this, and we're seeing it, it's all along the West. These people have lost their minds. They're overtly racist. What's to stop any one of these more racist areas from saying, all right, we're doing it. We're going to fire people and hire people based on race. Nothing. Now, Donald Trump could intervene. And I asked my friend, do you think that if a bunch of, white conservative areas got the ability to discriminate on the basis of race, that they would do it? Now, of course, they think so. I'm not so sure. But they said, of course. And I said, and do you think then Donald Trump would intervene to stop it? And they said, no, because that's their worldview. So why would you give white supremacists the legal right to hire and fire based on race? And the response, but it's for affirmative action. Yeah. I explained to them, okay, I told my friend, wouldn't it then make more sense just to add a little provision saying this will not be construed in any way to prohibit affirmative action in higher education? It would be easy, right? Yeah, it would be. Then why didn't they do that? Why did they just straight up repeal this? I'll tell you what's going to happen. People keep saying they want to discriminate against white people. I heard that too. They're saying this is them thinking they can discriminate against white people. Sure, probably some of them. But white people are the majority, dude. So you're going to see a ton of white areas now having the legal right in the state to do this. Now I go back to the initial article about Oregon. It's not going to be the white people getting sick because the government's making sure they all wear their masks. Take a look at the abortion data. These people are insanely racist, man. Pay attention. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up in a few minutes, and I'll see you all shortly.